Well, it's that bat time. It's this bat family. What's up, everybody? Welcome to World's Finest, brought to you by the Comic Collectors Guild. I am your host. My name is Jake. You guys know me as the Superman, and joining me is the bat himself, Lee Lawson. Lee, good day, sir. How are you?
Good day to you, sir. I'm great. I'm excited about this episode because it is all about me. We're talking about me. We're talking about some of the favorite stories that you and I have enjoyed throughout the years, and we're excited to share them with you guys tonight.
Yep, so we're going to talk about our top 5 Batman stories of all time. This was really, really hard. Obviously, Batman has many, many more than 5. He's got, 20, 25, 30 iconic storylines that we could pick from. But we're just breaking down our top 5 and talking about them. So this is going to be really fun. I don't think we're going to put this in any particular order. Really, we're just going to talk about 5. Honestly, the rankings change so much day by day that I don't even think there is a definitive 5. But let's just start with this thing. Without any discussions, really. What are just your 5, and then we'll talk about some of our differences and similarities.
Oh, sure, man. So for me, it is Hush, Death in the Family, a story from Justice League, Tower of Babel, The Killing Joke, and then Death of the Family. So those are my 5 stories, man, that I've enjoyed.
Yep, I have some similarities there. I also have Hush. I also have Death in the Family. I have, it's a little different. I have The Dark Knight Returns by Frank Miller, The Court of Owls, and then the only one I can say definitively is my favorite Batman story of all time is the Long Halloween, Batman The Long Halloween. So those are my 5. Let's just dive into some of them we have similar. Let's start with A Death in the Family. Obviously, that's a very iconic story that's been adapted into, Under the Red Hood, the animated movie. And now we have a new Telltale series kind of movie coming where we decide the fate of Mr. Jason Todd. But what about that story really, made it a part of your list?
Oh, I love this story. I actually remember when it came out. It came out in December 1988. Ran for about 4 issues. By that point, I guess Jason Todd had been around for about 5 years, and he had pissed a lot of people off by that time. He started off as a carbon copy of Dick Grayson, and then after the crisis, he became they wrote him totally different. He was a spoiled, petulant kid, you know what I mean, who just really just was hot-headed and really was just out of control.
Yeah.
So they, the audience, as you said, they had a vote, a lot of vote by phone at that point in time. They told this awesome story where the Joker had broke out of Arkham. He had stolen this nuclear bomb, and he was selling it to terrorists over in Lebanon. At the same time, Jason was over there trying to track down who he found out to be his real mom, tracking her down. They all crossed paths. Joker beat him with a crowbar, and the audience had to decide whether or not he was going to make it, live or die. And just by, I think it was within 100 votes.
Yeah, it's pretty close.
Yeah, that they actually voted for Jason to kick the bucket, man.
Yeah.
And it was pretty shocking, pretty surprising for that back then. It took a lot of criticism when it came out, but it's just a great story, a great Batman story. Superman makes an appearance. He actually prevents him from Batman from killing the Joker and taking him out, because he killed his
he went over
his ward. What I mean, killed his ward, and it was, like I said, a pretty horrific story.
Yeah, it was literally pretty much a good example of Batman losing a family member. We already know what kind of sensitivity that he has to that, and that is kind of what will push him over the edge, I think, of all the things that will, like a family member, maybe other than Dick and Alfred, whoever the Robin is at the time, passing is as close as he's going to get. Really love the birth of Red Hood that we get from this storyline. So we owe a lot to the storyline because it birthed what went from a guy who was hated as Robin to, oh man, this new guy as Red Hood is awesome. So it was kind of funny how it worked out. You know what I mean? And it also brought in Tim Drake eventually. So this story, a lot of good came from this storyline.
It did now, you know what I mean?
Yes.
But at the time, and it's funny to think about now. At the time, like I said, it took a lot of criticism. They killed Robin, who people outside of the comics just didn't know the change. They just knew they were killing the character Robin. You know what I mean? They didn't know the character from Dick Grayson to Jason Todd. But it's funny to think that in 5 years, Jason Todd really had the shortest run. In real time of Robins. Even now, Damian Wayne is a little bit has been around longer than 5 years.
Yeah.
So it made a huge impact. You're right.
No, I know, and I think I'm not mistaken. Jason has he ever donned the Batman cowl before? Like, has he ever? I think he's the only one that maybe hasn't been Batman before.
That I can remember. I mean, there might be a story or two, and I'm sure you guys will chime in there and chat there on the at the bottom. Let us know a comment if we're wrong. But that I can recall.
Yeah, I mean, I know like even Damian now in the new deceased line is currently Batman. So
yeah,
like I think he's the only one, but still, obviously, it's the movie on top of it, Enter the Red Hood or Under the Red Hood, is phenomenal. Like it's one of the best animated films that have come out. Obviously, Jason Eccles does a perfect Jason Todd. A lot of people have clamored for him to like actually play that character in like a live action, but we get a little Ra's al Ghul in there, and it's really, really a really fascinating story. So that's really cool. And then I know you mentioned Death of the Family, so why don't you break that one down a little bit? That one's not on my list, but tell us a little bit about
Death
that.
of the Family, man, I thought was a great story. And it's pretty recent, like done within the past 10 years. Came out in October or like 2012, if I'm not mistaken. And you guys will pick up a pattern here. Most of my stories with Batman, I love a good story that kind of spans across the Batman titles, across the Batman family. Anything that's all encompassing and brings all the Robins in and Batgirl and, Huntress, basically anybody, all that. If it's a great story, I'm totally down for it. But this story was like the Joker had disappeared for about a year. Before he left, he escaped Arkham, but he had sliced off his face.
Yeah.
It's like some sort of rebirth or something like that. When he comes back, he steals the face, which has been preserved for a while. He staples it back on. So, I mean, he's just like a more horrific. We're talking about the Joker here, becomes more horrific in appearance and behavior, which in general is saying something considering he was already a freaking psychopath, right?
Yeah.
But this whole story, it spans like 23 issues. But his whole plan is like to basically destroy everybody that's in the Batman family. That he's anybody who Batman has come to depend on or has in his life. He's ready to take them out and just leave Batman all alone. But like I said, it was dark and grisly. Near the end of the story, Joker's got the upper hand on the whole Bat family. He's got them all tied up at the dinner table in the Batcave. Everyone's face is bandaged except for Batman's. Alfred is brainwashed. He serves them like this platter, and everyone's face, Dick's, Barbara's, Davian's, everyone's face is sliced off and is on the plate. As far as they know. Come to find out, thankfully, no one's face was. I'm not a big fan of the body horror. No. But no, it was an awesome story, man. It just really was. It was one of those classic tales of Batman and the Joker, but it involved everybody.
Yeah, and I think what's really impressive. It's a very hard time. It's a very hard task to darken Joker.
Yeah,
they did it. I mean, when I remember just seeing the cover of the face, and you're just like, oh, like what did they do? Like it's definitely creepy. Like it's definitely creepy.
And they did a little bit of it, stole a little bit of it from live action in Gotham. They did Jerome, you know what I mean? But no, it was a like I said, one of the more recent stories, but it was a really good one.
Yeah, and that, speaking of a storyline that involves a lot of characters, we both had Hush on the list.
Yes,
that is, arguably for a lot of people's favorite is Hush. We get Superman, we get Huntress, we get Robins and Nightwings, everybody made a Catwoman.
Robins and Nightwings are why.
Yeah, I mean, this story is really incredible. I think it does a really good job of blending those characters really, really well. It brings, you never feel like a character gets thrown in for just no reason. Like everybody has their own specific purpose within that story. And for me, it's my favorite Poison Ivy story, period. Like it's her standout moment. It's one of my favorite Catwoman standout stories, and they just utilize these characters so brilliantly in this storyline. And it's very worthy of being on display, and it gave us a great villain. If you're into Detective Batman, this really does a good job of showing that detective aspect with the character of Hush.
Oh, no, totally. I agree with everything you said, man. I mean, it does. It was like, I think that started off in October 2002, ran for a whole year, and it does involve everybody. You said Poison Ivy. This shows her how powerful she can be.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, she uses Superman as a tool. You know what I mean? She's got some type of pheromones or something, or the serum, the warped type of scarecrow, or no, I mean, was able to kryptonite. Her pheromones, the kryptonite, laced with kryptonite, was able to take over Superman like that and use him as the destructive tool. I mean, it was great. And this was the beginning, I think, also of where you mentioned Batwoman or Catwoman. This, I mean, they'd already kind of been paired up, but this story really was the launching pad of them, you know, in their romantic relationship. You know what I mean? Really showed the romantic potential between those two. And also was really kind of cool because we talked a lot about Jason Todd earlier, and this foreshadowed his appearance as the Red Hood. You know what I mean? Or him even coming back to life, because there was a couple issues in this series that actually where they made, you know, the audience and Batman think that he was actually back. Come to find out he wasn't. But then he does show up like 4 or 5 years later and under the Red Hood, as he said. No, Hush was awesome, man. It was a great story. And I loved how Hush, when he makes his first appearance, the fact that he's using all of Batman his rogues gallery. I mean, he's manipulating them and using them. I mean, he's just the ultimate stalker.
The story is truly like a chess game. Like you're constantly trying to figure out. And I'm a piggyback off of one of mine that is, you know, kind of like that. And that's The Long Halloween. I know it's not on your list, but The Dark Knight, arguably the greatest comic movie that's ever come out, was heavily influenced by Long Halloween. And it's kind of the same thing. It's constantly a chess game. You're guessing what's going to happen next. You know, there's basically like this calendar man or holiday man where like every holiday, like some horrific crime happens, and it's Batman using detective skills to try and figure it out. This story to me is the definitive detective Batman story. They do such a good job. It's a longer storyline. I'm not quite sure how many issues it ran, but it is a phenomenal story. And it's cool, you know, we get some villains that we don't typically get, whether it's the Calendar and Kite Man, or I'm sorry, Holiday and Calendar Man being involved. And, you know, if you said those characters out loud, you'd be like, that's kind of a joke, but nail it. They nail it. Like, it's so good. So if anybody recommend, like I said, it is literally my favorite Batman story of all time. Obviously good enough for Christopher Nolan to adapt a little bit of it in The Dark Knight. So definitely check that out. So let's move on.
I just want to comment on that because I think that's awesome, because it totally is a story about how it focuses. I mean, even though his rogues gallery is there, it really is more about the crime families.
Right.
You know, Maroni and help me out, the other one that they're always there's two. There's the two.
Maroni and Falcone.
Falcone. Yeah, Falcone. You're right. Those two families, the warring families. You know what I mean? It really focuses on that. More of a street level type thing as opposed to fantastical villains.
It is. It's almost like old school, like Al Capone and like that gang war, you know, it's like Gangsta New York meets Batman. Like that's the best way to describe it. And it's very fascinating. So very, very, very well said, man. I like
that. It was good stuff.
Yeah, but let's move on to one of yours that was not on my list. You take your pick and just talk about whichever one of them you like, and we'll just go one by one and talk about these things.
All right. Well, Justice League Tower of Babel, man. I thought this was a great story. It takes place in Justice League, but it's a Batman-centric story. Yeah. Started in July of 2000. It's really about how Batman throughout the years have been collecting and recording the best way to beat the Justice League if they ever got out of hand. His files are then stolen by Ra's al Ghul. He's using them against the League, basically. While the League's being attacked, he's keeping Batman busy by having his parents' bodies stolen. He's doing all of this, of course, as Ra's usually does, is his latest plan to quote unquote save the world. You know what I mean? So he can reduce half of the population. But
Batman's Thanos story.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? He's just trying to. I just feel so bad for Ra's. She just wants what's best for the world, and the detective just keeps stopping him.
I love Ra's.
But no, I mean it's really a good story. It was adapted into Justice League Doom, the animated film, also. But you know, the fact that Batman had been collecting and recording a way to take down the Justice League. And then, you know, having them have Ra's in the story to be using that against them. I mean, they felt so betrayed by that. You know what I mean? Totally. In some of the ways they were doing, like Green Lantern was rendered blind by his own power ring. Martian Manhunter, I think, was like covered with nanites, so constantly causing him to burst into flame. Aquaman was like deathly afraid of water, so he couldn't. You know, it was like some remix of the Scarecrow's fear toxin. So. At the end of the story, you know, this is all based on Batman. Of course, Justice League, they do, you know, prevail. They do win, but at the detriment of the relationship with the rest of the Justice League.
Right.
You know, they all have a vote at the end to see whether or not they're going to keep him in. Wonder Woman, Plastic Man, and Aquaman are like, he's out of here.
Go.
You know what I mean? Can't trust him. Flash, Green Lantern, and Martian Manhunter, they vote to keep him. You know, they kind of understand why he did it in case they ever got out of control.
Yep. And Superman especially, he gets it, and I think he says, like, he gives at the end Batman, I think Kryptonite said, just in case, like, and once he checks, like, you have one for yourself too, you know what I mean? Like, he's like, oh, the Justice League, like, that's how you take me out, you know.
Well, so at the end of this story, Batman had quit by that time, but Superman voted him out. So they voted him out of the Justice League.
Oh, so it is a little different.
It was the Justice League Doom. Because the Justice League Doom, I think it was not Ra's al Ghul who had done this. It was Vandal Savage, and like the Legion of Doom or whatever. So they always change it up. But no, I thought it was a great story because for me, it's also, I've always said, you know, people are always like, how can Batman beat so and so? Well, this story proves, you know, that he could do it. He could take out these gods, you know, of the Justice League, just that normal man.
Yeah, nope. Yeah, I mean, it is a great story. It's one of my favorite DC stories. Actually, I'm kind of glad you referred to it. But the only reason it's not in mine is because I didn't label it as like a Batman story. I know Killing Joke obviously is for most people. I consider it actually more of like a Joker story. So that's why it's not in mine. Obviously, it's absolutely a masterpiece. So I know that's the other one. Why don't you talk about the Killing Joke? Because that thing it's incredible. It's a one-off, and it's truly one of the most iconic backstories to this crazy character.
Yeah, no, it came out in March 1988. And this was intended to just be like a one-off tale. You know what I mean? It was just a tale of Batman or Joker showing how anybody's just one bad day away from becoming a freaking crazy psychopath lunatic. You know, it's actually one of the, and it was almost gave him, Joker's never really had an origin, as we all know,
which I like.
Which I like too, but this one kind of gave him one, which kind of other stories have kind of based it on. It was like he was some failed comedian, you know what I mean, and just started to rob something in order to make ends meet. No, it was a great. This is obviously the story too that's become pretty infamous for taking out Barbara Gordon.
Oh yeah,
I mean, you know, because he's showing like I said, he's trying to show Batman that anybody's just one day away from becoming a lunatic, and he's doing this to Commissioner Gordon. So he comes, you know, he's trying to break him. Basically, he kidnaps him. He obviously, for those who know the story, he shoots Barbara. This, of course, paralyzes her, which leads to the path of her becoming Oracle for quite some time.
Yeah.
But you know, it's been known. People don't like the story as much because she's been reduced to a story point.
Yeah.
You know, this fantastic character of Batgirl, you know, has been reduced to a story point. But like I said, this story was supposed to be just a one-off,
right?
And like an Elseworlds tale, but it's been now incorporated into the Batman mythology. You know what I mean? And into the real storylines. No, it's a good story. It's dark. It's always been insinuated too at the very end that Batman actually kills the Joker.
Yeah.
You know, if you talk to the author, he said that's kind of how he really had left it to be. But no, it's a great story, man. I mean, dark and terrible story, but really good.
It's one of I think it does the best job of actually utilizing dialogue between Batman and Joker. You know, there's some lines in there that are just because I mean, you know, they talk a lot, but it's usually like, you know, Joker kind of teasing them, or, you know, Batman just trying to get him to stop. Where they're having like genuine heart to hearts, you know, and you don't see that in other storylines. So it's very, very cool. In a way, the cliffhanger at the end, you know, does he kill him? Does he not? I always kind of lean that he did as well, like kind of snap his neck or something like that.
He just pushed him too much, man.
Yep. So I think he just realized, like, you know, you can't save everybody, and if I don't do this, it's going to be destruction. But definitely a great story. And I'm going to talk about one of the stories that also has a neck snap, and that is Dark Knight Returns. This one really changed comic books, I think, for forever. This one is literally one of the stories that changed the entire industry. It wasn't even like a Batman. This is just superheroes in general. It took an old, weathered, angry Bruce Wayne coming out of retirement, and just, you know, the Gotham has gone to shambles, and he realizes he has to come back. So we're talking about like a 50-ish year old Bruce. He comes back. He's huge. Like, he's massive in this story. We see him taking on the mutant gang, which is a little different. We get Carrie Kelly as Robin, which is a new Robin, and it's a very, iconic because it's really her one moment of shine, I would say. I mean, she's been in a few other stories, but really this is
She's
her.
been integrated into other stories now, but yeah, this is really her
Yeah.
time,
So it's almost like a two-parter where, the mutant gang's first, and then because Batman comes back, the Joker comes back, and then we have this huge epic, battle between these two titans that are older and they're just so tired of each other, and Joker's literally wanting just doing anything he can to get Batman to kill him. Like, dude, I can win. I'm gonna win. And then we get the iconic Batman versus Superman fight, at the end, with the armored Batman, and it's been replayed and redone so many times, but it's really the fight between these two characters I think people think of. So just so iconic of a story, and it had to be, on my list for those reasons.
Well, no, dude, I'm probably wrong about this, but for some reason I think it came out in 1986.
It did.
It did. Okay. And you probably already said that. That's why I know it. But
no, I did not say it. So thank you.
Okay. But until that time, this really reinvented Batman.
Yes.
Because a lot of people knew it. He was still riding that wave of Adam West Batman.
Yes.
You know what I mean? For the most part,
I can't get rid of a bomb.
Yeah. Exactly. Or my bat vegetable soup container.
Yeah,
the
bat shark repellent spray.
So yes, but Frank Miller, man, this came out and really blew the doors off of everything, dude. And it was. I mean, it was different. It was just. I know I've said dark and twisted probably a lot during these Batman stories. Usually are, but this one took broke the mold. I mean, it really has, and I don't even know if we've gone as dark since. I mean, we have maybe, but I mean, with just the mutants and the futuristic stuff and the dirtiness and the grime, and this is also another infamous storyline where they are reduce one of Batman's female characters to a story point, or with Selena Kyle. At this point, if I'm not mistaken, she's also older, and she's like head madam prostitute or something, runs a prostitute, whatever, does something like that. But then she gets kidnapped by the Joker and is dressed up in this Wonder Woman costume and is murdered on live television or something. Yep. Yeah, and it's just like, how are you going to take Selena Kyle? You know what I mean? And just reduce her to this, and that's it.
Frank Miller has never been accused of going light. That's for sure. I wasn't around when this came out, but I can only imagine it was probably like, oh my God, like this is so dark, and it's like for me, people my age and younger, it's like, Batman's super dark, it's natural, but it's because of this storyline. So for those reasons, it had to be, on my list. The last one that it's was on my list that you didn't have is Court of Owls. This is also kind of like Death of the Family, where this is a newer story. It's crazy when you have all these iconic villains, whether it's Riddler, Penguin, Joker, Mr. Freeze, that have been around for so long, to come out with a new character that's just incredible. And man, did they nail it with Court of Owls. It's literally, this secret society of wealthy people that are just within Gotham. And, I mean, if you really think about it, Bruce Wayne, he's even said it like, this is my city. He knows every inch and every little detail of every little shadow within this city. He has no idea that these guys are even around. This whole time, they've been around for years and years and years. It's really cool because it was kind of like a lullaby, nightmarish lullaby back in the day when he was a child, and when his parents were murdered. He actually went searching for the Court of Owls, like thinking they were a part of it and blah, blah, blah. And I mean, they were real the whole time. And I mean, you get villain like Talon, who, quite frankly, at times beats the crap out of Batman, which you don't see very often in stories in this organization of villains called the Court of Owls. It is really, really interesting. It does a very good job of showing, yes, the detective story, but also some of these combat fights within these characters, because they're like souped up. It's almost like the super soldier serum within all these, Court of Owls and Talon especially. And what a cool villain he is. I actually wish that he was in more storylines because he's so intriguing and cool to me. But Court of Owls, if you haven't read it, I cannot recommend this game enough, or this this comic enough, and they're going to do a game based off of Court of Owls, supposedly
Nice.
the Arkham game. So all fingers crossed. But Court of Owls, I don't know if you've read it, but what are your thoughts on Court of Owls?
Now, didn't they do an animated film? I mean, they tried to truncate it, right? In Batman versus Robin. Didn't
Yes,
that touch
kind of.
on it a little
Touch it,
bit?
yeah.
They introduced them, and I know I saw them pop up on Gotham,
Yeah.
a version of them as well.
Yes.
And lately, haven't they integrated Dick Grayson into that to
Yes.
where the Graysons are now
Yes.
like have been part of this
Part of them for a long
whole
time. Yeah.
cobbled for a while now? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean it's been a while. I've read, I know of Court of Owls, but I actually don't know a lot about it. So
Yeah,
really
I'm gonna have to get
me
you a
up.
copy. Yeah, there's Court of Owls and there's City of Owls. It's like a 2-part and my God, they're absolutely phenomenal. So yeah, I mean those are really the key 5. I guess we have a few minutes here. Let's just talk about spitball. What are some others that you might have there that could have been? I mean, for me, like some Elseworld stuff, like Gotham by Gaslight, an old Batman
yeah.
Back to the Ripper story. I really am a big fan of that. Recently, like there's Batman Damned is very popular and things like that. But what are some of the stories for you?
No Man's Land is a great one.
Oh yeah, yeah.
When Gotham's taken out, and then that was another one. Again, like I'm a big, as I said, and I can't say it enough. I love stories that run all through Gotham and then take all of the characters in the Bat family and the supporting characters and all that. And this is one of those that does.
Yeah.
When Gotham, massive earthquake hits it, and they actually took part of this. I love how the movies, the Nolan films, use so many different pieces of different.
You bury little pieces of each one and mesh them. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's kind of what happened in No Man's Land. And Gotham actually took a little bit of it too. When Gotham's has massive earthquake or is destroyed and the government, closes it out and makes it a whole like island to itself and won't let anybody in or won't let anybody out, man. And the villains are just taking over and running rampant. It's a great story. Yeah,
it is. Yeah. One for me too. Speaking of Frank Miller, is I was actually surprised that is people are going to scream about this if I don't bring up Batman Year One. That's a very iconic storyline. Really, the origin story of how Bruce becomes Batman in his very, very early days and that relationship with him and Gordon. Also been adapted into an animated film. A lot of these have been adapted into animated films, but that is another one I definitely think that is on a lot of people's list. That's very, very good.
No, it was good, and that kicked off the whole Year One. I mean, how many storylines have been named to Year One now after that? You know what I mean?
Year one, Year zero. It's like the last one for me, and then I'll let you kind of finish this thing off, is Nightfall. I think that's another one where Bane actually breaks Batman's back. I mean, that's such a wait, Batman just lost? Like what? And that's just a huge one for me. So Nightfall is my final one. It's incredible.
No, I think Nightfall is a great one also. I mean, that I was going to actually mention that because that is where almost like right after Death of Superman, where you get a hero taken out of commission for over a year or two in real time, you know what I mean? And breaks his back. It was a great story. Great story, again, involving a lot of villains, being orchestrated by and manipulated by Bane.
Yeah, and to me, it's Bane's standout, definitely standout story. It really shows how smart he is. A lot of people think of Bane as just this big brute with venom, but he's very, very smart. Man, did he pull a fast one on Batman here. I mean, not very many people do Batman, but he came out with a plan, and it worked to perfection because he broke that sucker. I mean, we see Alfred.
Totally did.
For a second, I was like, I think Alfred's gone, and everyone's like, not Alfred, but those are our favorite Batman stories, guys. We would love. I know Batman's a huge favorite for everybody, so please let us know what your favorite Batman stories are. We'd love to hear your opinions. I think we're going to do this with Superman next, so. We're going to talk about I, which is going to be fantastic. I'm really excited. We want to give a shout out to Wayward Soul Searchers for this episode. They're coming out with a movie, Wayward Soul Searchers. They are ghost hunters. They have some very cool content regarding like dark spirits and collectibles and things like that. So definitely give them a shout out. You can check them out on Facebook by looking up Wayward Soul Searchers. And the main guy who's heading it up, he's coming out with a set of movies that you might see in an interview with me and Lee here shortly. So we're really excited about that. So check them out. And Lee, I know you're excited about that one.
I am, yeah. Butler's Terrifying Haunts, man. Wayward Soul Searchers. It's going to be an interesting, exciting interview. Can't wait.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. But while you're at it, guys, check out our website, www.comiccollectorsguild.com. Please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. We appreciate all your feedback and comments. It's awesome. And till next time, guys, it's been fun talking about the Bat, and we will be back with you here next time talking Superman. See you guys.